The arrival. The golden fields of wheat swayed gently in the breeze, a tranquil scene on the agricultural world of New Eden. Governor Ilarichen stood at the edge of a vast field, watching as her people worked the land they had cultivated over generations. New Eden was humanity's crowning achievement in space colonization, a testament to their ability to transform barren worlds into bountiful gardens. Little did Ilara know that this peaceful day would be their last for a long time. The first sign of trouble came as a low rumble that shook the ground beneath their feet. Farmers paused in their work, looking up at the sky with confusion. Ilara's comm device buzzed urgently, and she answered it with a growing sense of dread. "Governor, we're detecting multiple large objects entering the atmosphere," reported Zane, her chief of security. "They're not responding to hails, and they don't match any known human ship designs." Ilara's heart raced as she processed the information. "Sound the alert. Get everyone to the emergency shelters. Now." As sirens blared across the colony, dark shapes appeared in the sky. Massive ships unlike anything they had ever seen. Ilara watched in horror as smaller craft began to descend, their sleek, predatory designs a stark contrast to the utilitarian human vessels. The first alien she saw emerged from a landing craft less than a kilometer away. It stood nearly 3 meters tall, its body covered in iridescent scales, with 4 arms ending in wickedly sharp claws. Its face was a nightmare of mandibles and compound eyes. A booming voice echoed across the landscape, clearly amplified by some alien technology. "Humans of this world, hear me. I am Supreme Commander Zixtal of the Kraxixi Empire. Your pitiful colony is now under our control. Resist, and you will be eradicated. Submit, and you may live as our slaves." Ilara clenched her fists, her mind racing. New Eden had no military to speak of. They were farmers, not soldiers. But as she looked around at the determined faces of her people, she knew they wouldn't go down without a fight. "Get me to the command center," she ordered Zane, "and contact every settlement on the planet. We need to coordinate our response." As they raced towards the colony's main complex, Ilara saw the aliens beginning to round up humans who hadn't made it to the shelters in time. Her blood boiled at the sight, but she forced herself to focus on the bigger picture. In the command center, a grim-faced team of colony leaders awaited her. Dr. Imani Okoro, their chief scientist, spoke first. "Governor, I've analyzed the initial scans of the alien technology. They're far beyond us in terms of weapons and space travel. But what?" Ilara pressed. Imani's eyes gleamed with a hint of hope. "Their biology is completely different from ours, and that might just give us an edge." As the aliens secured their hold on the main settlement, Supreme Commander Zixtal surveyed his new conquest with satisfaction. These humans were pathetically weak, their bodies soft, and their technology primitive. This world would make an excellent addition to the Empire's growing list of agricultural slave planets. Little did he know that the humans of New Eden were far from defeated. In hidden bunkers and secret labs, they were already planning their resistance. Dr. Okoro worked feverishly with her team, analyzing the alien biology and comparing it to the unique properties of New Eden's carefully engineered crops. Meanwhile, Ilara rallied the colonists via secure communications channels. "People of New Eden, hear me," she broadcast. "We may lack weapons, but we have something far more powerful: our minds, our determination, and our connection to this land we've nurtured. The aliens think we're weak, but we'll show them the true strength of humanity." As night fell on that first terrible day, the Kraxixi believed they had easily subjugated another inferior species. But in the darkness, the seeds of resistance were already taking root, nurtured by human ingenuity and an unbreakable will to survive. Zixtal retired to his command ship, confident in his victory. Had he known what the humans were planning, he might not have slept so soundly. For in labs and farmhouses across New Eden, a plan was forming, one that would teach the aliens the folly of underestimating humanity. The colonists worked through the night, their efforts hidden from the watchful eyes of their would-be conquerors. They modified crop strains, repurposed farming equipment, and prepared to show the Craxixi that on New Eden, even the plants could become weapons in the right hands. As dawn broke on the second day of occupation, neither the humans nor the aliens realized that the real battle for New Eden was only just beginning. The Craxixi would soon learn a harsh lesson. Never mock a human farmer on their own land. Hidden strengths. As the alien occupation entered its second week, Supreme Commander Zixtal grew increasingly frustrated. What should have been a simple subjugation of a primitive agricultural world was proving far more challenging than anticipated. Report. He barked at his subordinate, Sub-Commander Vexlor. Vexlor's mandibles clicked nervously. Supreme Commander, we're facing unexpected difficulties. Our troops are falling ill in alarming numbers. The cause is unclear, but it seems to be related to exposure to the local vegetation. Zixtal's compound eyes narrowed. Impossible. Our bioscreens should protect against any native pathogens. It's not a pathogen, sir, Vexlor explained. It appears to be some kind of allergic reaction. And there's more. Our attempts to harvest the human crops for our own consumption have failed. The plants are incompatible with our digestive systems. Meanwhile, deep in an underground lab beneath the fields, Dr. Imani Okoro allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction. Her team's genetic modifications to New Eden's crops were working even better than expected. The alien biology is fascinatingly different from ours, she explained to Governor Ilara Chen. Their immune systems can't cope with the complex proteins we've introduced into our plants. It's not lethal, but it's certainly making life difficult for them. Ilara nodded, her eyes gleaming with hope. Excellent work, Imani. But we need more than just defensive measures. How goes the other project? See for yourself, Imani said, leading Ilara to a sealed chamber. Inside, rows of plants swayed gently, their leaves a deep, unnatural purple. We call it dream shade. When processed correctly, it produces a potent psychoactive effect on the alien brain chemistry. One whiff, and they'll be seeing things that aren't there for hours. Across New Eden, the human resistance was gaining momentum. Farmers who had seemed docile and broken to the aliens were secretly cultivating the new strains developed by Okoro's team. Every field became a potential weapon, every silo a cache of biological armaments. In the northern continent, a group of colonists led by former agricultural engineer Marcus Zhang had repurposed their harvesting machines into formidable mobile units, reinforced with scavenged alien alloys and equipped with sprayers filled with concentrated dreamshade extract. These Reaper vehicles were a far cry from their peaceful origins. Remember, Marcus told his team as they prepared for their first raid, "We're not soldiers, but we know this land better than anyone. Use that to your advantage." The raid was a resounding success. The alien patrol never saw the Reapers coming, hidden as they were among the tall crops. By the time the Craxixi realized they were under attack, the air was filled with a purple mist that sent them into a hallucinatory panic. News of the victory spread through the human resistance network like wildfire, inspiring similar actions across the planet. The Craxixi found themselves facing an enemy they couldn't see or understand, attacked by the very environment they sought to control. Zixtal raged at his commanders. How is this possible? They're nothing but primitive farmers. Find their leaders, crush their resistance. But finding the resistance proved nearly impossible. The humans used their intimate knowledge of the land to stay one step ahead. Communications hidden in irrigation systems, meeting points disguised as ordinary barns. In the third week of occupation, the aliens attempted to destroy a vast swath of cropland, hoping to starve the humans into submission. It was a catastrophic mistake. The burning fields released clouds of spores from the genetically modified plants. Carried on the wind, these spores caused widespread respiratory distress among the Craxixi forces. Entire battalions were incapacitated, their soldiers writhing in agony as their alien biology rebelled against the human-engineered proteins. Governor Chen seized the opportunity. Now is the time. she announced to her people. While they're weakened, we strike back. Show them the true strength of humanity. Across New Eden, the resistance emerged from hiding. Farmers became warriors, their tools transformed into weapons. Silos opened to reveal stockpiles of bioengineered weapons. The Reapers rolled out in force, joined by swarms of drones reprogrammed to spread dreamshade over Cracksixy positions. Taken by surprise and already weakened, the alien forces found themselves on the defensive for the first time. Zixtal watched in disbelief as his troops retreated from what should have been an easy conquest. "This is impossible," he muttered, staring at the tactical displays showing human advances across the planet. "They're nothing but farmers. How can they be defeating us?" The answer, of course, was the very thing he had dismissed from the beginning: human ingenuity. The people of New Eden had taken their greatest strength, their connection to the land and their mastery of agriculture, and turned it into a weapon the Cracksixan never saw coming. As the fourth week of the occupation dawned, the tables had turned dramatically. The Cracksixy found themselves besieged in their own landing zones, surrounded by an environment that had become actively hostile to them. Ilara Chen stood once again at the edge of a wheat field, but this time her gaze was steely with determination rather than fear. "We've shown them our strength," she told her advisors. "Now it's time to drive them off our world for good." The battle for New Eden was far from over, but for the first time since the invasion began, hope blossomed as abundantly as the crops in the fields. The aliens had come expecting to find weakness. Instead, they had awakened a sleeping giant, learning the hard way that underestimating humanity was a mistake they would not soon forget. The counterattack. As the sun rose on the 30th day of the occupation, the people of New Eden were ready to launch their most daring offensive yet. The past weeks had seen a dramatic shift in the balance of power, with the Cracksixy forces increasingly on the defensive. Now, it was time for the humans to press their advantage. Governor Ilara Chen addressed her war council, a group that would have been unrecognizable just a month ago. Farmers, engineers, and scientists had transformed into military strategists and resistance leaders. "Today, we take back our world," Ilara declared, her voice firm with resolve. "Marcus, your Reapers will lead the charge on their main base. Dr. Okoro, is the new strain ready?" Imani nodded, her eyes gleaming with a mixture of pride and apprehension. "We're calling it Gaia's Wrath. It's our most potent creation yet, a fast-growing vine that's drawn to the unique heat signature of Cracksixy technology. Once it takes hold, it'll immobilize their equipment within hours." The plan was audacious. While Marcus Young's Reaper units engaged the Cracksixy in a frontal assault, teams of colonists would infiltrate the alien base to plant Gaia's Wrath. Meanwhile, a massive swarm of reprogrammed agricultural drones would blanket the area with a new, more powerful version of Dreamshade. As dawn broke, the attack began. The roar of Reaper engines filled the air as the converted farm machines thundered towards the Cracksixy stronghold. Marcus led the charge, his vehicle sprayers dousing the alien defenders with a cocktail of debilitating bioagents. For New Eden, he roared over the comm system, and a chorus of human voices echoed the cry. Inside the alien base, Supreme Commander Zixtal was in a state of panic. How is this happening? He raged at his subordinates. They're primitives, farmers. An explosion rocked the command center, and Vexlor rushed in. "Supreme Commander, we're under attack. The humans, they've turned their plants into weapons." Outside, the scene was chaos. Cracksixy soldiers stumbled about in confusion, their senses overwhelmed by Dreamshade. Those that managed to reach their vehicles found the machines already being enveloped by rapidly growing vines, Gaia's Wrath living up to its name. Dr. Okoro, watching from a hidden command post, allowed herself a moment of scientific awe. "Fascinating," she murmured. "The vines are adapting even faster than we predicted." Governor Chen's voice crackled over the comm. "Stay focused, Imani. How long until their base is fully compromised?" "At this rate, less than 2 hours." The battle raged on. Human resilience and ingenuity clashed against alien technology and strength. But for every crack-sexy weapon, the people of New Eden had an answer born from the very soil of their world. Marcus's Reapers pushed deeper into the alien compound, their makeshift armor proving surprisingly effective against crack-sexy energy weapons. "Remember," he called to his team, "we're fighting for our homes, our families. Don't let up." In the skies above, swarms of drones engaged crack-sexy fighters. What the repurposed agricultural machines lacked in weaponry, they made up for in numbers and unpredictability. Alien pilots found their systems scrambled by electromagnetic pulses emitted by the drones, another innovation courtesy of New Eden scientists. As the battle reached its peak, Ilara made a fateful decision. "It's time," she announced to her advisors. "Activate the harvest." Across the planet, hidden silos burst open. But instead of grain, they released clouds of microscopic robots, a project that had been in development since the early days of the colony, designed to aid in precision farming. Now, reprogrammed for war, the nanobots swarmed towards the crack-sexy, interfering with their equipment and causing havoc in their ranks. Inside the alien command center, Zixtal watched in horror as his tactical displays went dark one by one. "What's happening?" he roared. Vexlor, his scales pale with fear, could only shake his head. "It's like the whole planet has turned against us, Supreme Commander." As the day wore on, it became clear that the tide had turned decisively. The crack-sexy, for all their advanced technology, found themselves outmatched by the sheer adaptability and determination of their human foes. By nightfall, the main crack-sexy base had fallen. Zixtal, once so confident in his superiority, was brought before Governor Chen in chains. Ilara looked down at the alien commander, her expression a mixture of triumph and sadness for the conflict that had been forced upon them. "You came to our world thinking us weak," she said. "You thought because we were farmers, we would be easy to conquer, but you forgot one simple truth. Those who work the land know how to survive, how to adapt, and how to fight for what's theirs." Zixtal, his arrogance finally broken, could only stare in disbelief at the human leader. As news of the victory spread across New Eden, celebrations erupted in every settlement. But Ilara and her advisors knew their work was far from over. The crack-sexy on the planet had been defeated, but their empire still lurked among the stars. "We've won the battle," Ilara told her people, "but the war may just be beginning. We must prepare for what comes next." Even as they celebrated, the people of New Eden began to plan. Their world had been transformed into a fortress, their crops into weapons. They had discovered strengths they never knew they possessed. Whatever the crack-sexy empire might send next, humanity would be ready. The farmers of New Eden had tasted victory, and they would not easily relinquish their hard-won freedom. As the first stars appeared in the evening sky, Ilara looked out over the fields that had become battlegrounds, and then triumphs. She knew challenges lay ahead, but for now, she allowed herself to savor the victory. The humans had faced the alien threat and emerged stronger. New Eden had lived up to its name, becoming a paradise not of ease, but of human resilience and ingenuity. Alien reinforcements. The celebration of victory on New Eden was short-lived. Just 3 days after the defeat of Supreme Commander Zixtal's forces, long-range sensors detected a massive fleet approaching the planet. The crack-sexy empire, it seemed, was not willing to accept defeat so easily. Governor Ilara Chen called an emergency meeting of her war council. The mood was tense as they gathered in the underground command center, converted from an old root cellar. "What are we looking at, Zane?" Ilara asked her chief of security. Zane's face was grim as he pulled up the sensor readings. "It's bad, Governor. We're detecting at least 50 capital ships, along with hundreds of smaller craft. They'll be here in less than 48 hours. A heavy silence fell over the room. Their recent victory, hard-fought as it was, now seemed small in the face of this overwhelming force. Dr. Imani Okoro was the first to speak up. We've depleted most of our Gaia's wrath and Dreamshade supplies. Even if we could produce more in time, they'll be expecting those tactics now. Marcus Young, still bearing wounds from the recent battle, nodded in agreement, and our Reapers took a beating. We've got maybe a dozen still operational. Ilara closed her eyes for a moment, feeling the weight of her people's lives on her shoulders. When she opened them again, there was steel in her gaze. Then we'll have to think of something new. We've come too far to give up now. For the next 24 hours, New Eden was a hive of feverish activity. Every scientist, engineer, and farmer worked around the clock, pushing the limits of human ingenuity. In her lab, Dr. Okoro made a breakthrough. "Governor," she called excitedly over the comm, "we've managed to synthesize a new compound. It doesn't affect the Craxixi directly, but it reacts with their ship's hull material, making it brittle and susceptible to fractures." Meanwhile, Marcus had an idea of his own. "We can't fight them in space," he explained to the council, "but what if we could bring them to us? Use the gravity wells from our mining operations to disrupt their fleet's formation, force them to land." Ilara nodded, a plan forming in her mind. "Good. Imani, can we weaponize this new compound for atmospheric dispersal?" "Already on it," the scientist replied. As the Craxixi fleet entered the system, they were met not with resistance, but with an apparently defenseless planet. Admiral Koax, leader of the reinforcements, smiled coldly. These humans would pay for their insolence. But as the fleet approached New Eden, things began to go wrong. Ships at the edges of the formation began to drift off course, caught in unexpected gravitational fields. Attempts to correct only seemed to make things worse. "What's happening?" Kovacs demanded. His science officer looked baffled. "Some kind of localized gravity distortions, Admiral. They're like nothing I've ever seen." On the planet's surface, Marcus grinned as he watched the alien ship's erratic movements on the tactical display. "The mining gravity wells are working perfectly," he reported. "They're being forced into our trap." As the Craxixi fleet struggled to maintain formation, New Eden launched its next surprise. Thousands of drones, hastily retrofitted with dispersion units, swarmed up from the planet's surface. Before the alien ships could react, they were engulfed in clouds of Dr. Okoro's new compound. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, alarms began blaring across the Craxixi fleet. Hairline fractures appeared in hull plating, growing larger by the second. "We're losing structural integrity," Kovacs's second-in-command shouted. Multiple ships reporting critical failures. In the chaos that followed, nearly a third of the Craxixi fleet was forced to make emergency landings on New Eden's surface. It was exactly what the humans had been waiting for. As soon as the alien ships touched down, they were swarmed by Reapers and repurposed farming equipment. Harvesters modified with electromagnetic pulse generators disabled the ship's systems, while sprayers doused the emerging Craxixi troops with the last reserves of Dreamshade. The battles were fierce, but the humans of New Eden fought with the desperation of those protecting their homes. Fields became war zones, orchards turned into ambush points. Every bit of knowledge the colonists had about their world was turned into a tactical advantage. Admiral Kovacs, watching from orbit as more and more of his ground forces fell silent, finally made the difficult decision. "All ships, retrieve what forces you can and prepare for immediate withdrawal." As the battered Craxixi fleet retreated, leaving their stranded comrades behind, cheers erupted across New Eden. Against all odds, they had faced down the full might of an alien empire and emerged victorious. But in the command center, Governor Chen's expression remained serious. "This isn't over," she told her exhausted but triumphant council. "We've bloodied their nose twice now. They'll be back, and in even greater numbers." Marcus nodded grimly. "What do we do?" Ilara's eyes gleamed with determination. "We prepare. We learn from this victory, improve our defenses." And she added, a slight smile finally breaking through, "We show the rest of humanity what we've accomplished here. It's time to call for reinforcements of our own." As the sun set on New Eden, its people began the work of rebuilding, knowing that their greatest challenges, and perhaps their greatest triumphs, still lay ahead. The farmers had become warriors, their world a fortress. Whatever came next, they would face it together, armed with the most powerful weapons of all, human ingenuity and an unbreakable spirit. Triumph of the human spirit. In the months following the second Cracksexy invasion attempt, New Eden underwent a remarkable transformation. The once peaceful agricultural world had become a fortress, its people united in their determination to protect their home. Governor Ilara Chen stood at the window of the newly constructed planetary defense headquarters, watching as a fleet of human ships descended through the atmosphere. After their last victory, New Eden had finally been able to re-establish contact with the rest of humanity. The response had been overwhelming. Ships, supplies, and volunteers poured in from across human space. Quite a sight, isn't it? Dr. Imani Okoro said, joining Ilara at the window. Ilara nodded, a mix of pride and concern in her eyes. It is, but will it be enough? Their intelligence suggested that the Cracksexy were assembling an armada unlike anything seen before. This time, they weren't coming just for New Eden. They intended to strike at the heart of human space. We've come too far to fail now, Imani assured her, and we're not alone anymore. Indeed, New Eden had become a symbol of human resilience across the galaxy. Their story, how a small colony of farmers had twice defeated a technologically superior alien force, had inspired millions. In the fields below, Marcus Zhang was overseeing the integration of new military hardware with their repurposed agricultural equipment. The Reapers, once simple harvesters, now stood alongside state-of-the-art battle mechs. Remember, he called out to a group of off-world volunteers, technology alone won't win this fight. It's our connection to this land, our ingenuity, that's gotten us this far. As the day of the final battle approached, tension hung heavy in the air. Despite their preparations, the coming Cracksexy force was truly massive. Victory was far from assured. The night before the expected invasion, Ilara addressed her people, citizens of New Eden, and brave allies from across human space. Tomorrow, we face our greatest challenge yet. The Cracksexy come not just for our world, but for all of humanity. They think their numbers and their technology make victory inevitable. But they've underestimated us before, and they do so again now. We are more than farmers, more than colonists. We are the indomitable spirit of humanity. Our strength lies not in weapons, but in our hearts, our minds, and our unbreakable will. Together, we will show the galaxy that humanity will never bow to tyranny. As dawn broke, the sky filled with the ominous shapes of the Cracksexy armada. But this time, New Eden was ready. The battle began in space, human fleets engaging the Cracksexy in a dazzling display of tactical prowess. On the planet's surface, defense systems sprang to life. Massive cannons, grown from genetically modified trees and powered by geothermal energy, launched salvos of bioengineered projectiles into the alien ranks. Swarms of drones, piloted by New Eden's farmers turned fighter pilots, darted between capital ships, deploying Dr. Okoro's latest creations, microscopic robots that could eat through Cracksexy hull plating like acid. But the aliens had learned from their previous defeats. They came prepared for New Eden's biological weapons, their ships equipped with advanced filtration systems. For hours, the battle hung in the balance. Human defenders fought with desperate courage, but the Cracksexy numbers seemed endless. Ilara, coordinating the defense from the command center, felt a moment of despair as she watched another human squadron blink out of existence on the tactical display. Then, Marcus's voice crackled over the comm. "Governor, we've broken through their lines. We're deploying the Gaia Protocol." The Gaia Protocol was their last, desperate gambit, a plan so audacious that many had doubted it could work. But now, as Ilara watched the tactical display, she saw it unfolding. Specially modified seed pods, launched from the planet's surface, attached themselves to Crack-60 ships. Within moments, the pods burst open, releasing a new strain of Gaia's wrath, one that could survive in the vacuum of space. The effect was immediate and devastating. Crack-60 ships found themselves entangled in rapidly growing vines that seemed to feed on their energy emissions. Entire sections of the alien fleet were immobilized, their mighty warships reduced to drifting, powerless hulks. Seizing the moment, the human forces pressed their advantage. Boarding parties, led by New Eden's farmers-turned-commandos, stormed the paralyzed Crack-60 vessels. In the command center, a cheer went up as the tactical display showed more and more enemy ships going dark. Ilara allowed herself a moment of hope. This could be it, she breathed. We might actually win this. The battle raged for hours more, but the tide had turned. The Crack-60, their carefully laid plans in ruins, found themselves outmaneuvered at every turn by the sheer adaptability and determination of their human foes. As the last Crack-60 ship fell silent, a wave of disbelief washed over New Eden. Slowly, tentatively, cheers began to rise from across the planet. They had done it. Against all odds, humanity had triumphed. In the aftermath, as the dust of battle settled, Ilara stood once again in the fields of New Eden. The planet bore the scars of conflict, but already she could see signs of recovery. Farmers were returning to their lands, replanting crops in soil enriched by the ashes of battle. Marcus joined her, his face weary but proud. "Hard to believe it's over," he said. Ilara nodded. "This battle is, but our journey is just beginning." She gazed up at the sky, where the wreckage of the Crack-60 fleet served as a testament to human perseverance. "We've shown the galaxy what humanity is capable of. Now we have a responsibility to use that strength wisely." As news of their victory spread across human space, New Eden became more than just a symbol of resistance. It was a beacon of hope. The colonists who had started as simple farmers had not only saved their world, but had played a pivotal role in securing the future of all humanity. In the years that followed, New Eden flourished. Its unique blend of advanced technology and agricultural expertise made it the center of innovation. The lessons learned in defending their home were applied to terraforming projects across the galaxy, allowing humanity to expand further into the stars than ever before. And always, the people of New Eden remembered the core truth that had seen them through their darkest hours, that the greatest strength of humanity lies not in weapons or technology, but in the indomitable spirit of its people, united in the face of adversity. As the sun set on this new chapter of human history, Ilara Chen looked out over the fields of New Eden, now peaceful once more. The challenges of the future were unknown, but whatever they might be, she knew that humanity would face them together, stronger and more united than ever before.